You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Everybody, welcome in to this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast from MILB.com. My name is Tyler Mon, alongside Sam Dykstra, not physically, but in spirit. Hello, Sam.
Hello. Yeah, it is too bad we are in different cities. We are beginning 2019 as we ended 2018. But that doesn't mean there's a bunch of new, fun, exciting things to talk about. And it does feel like baseball. That's one of the things I appreciate. I realized in the last couple of days is that we kind of go from retrospective about 2018 once the new year flips. Like, we really can look forward to 2019 because the season is around the corner in ways other sports can't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, football is just going into its playoffs, and it's always weird of, did they win the 2018 Super Bowl or the 2019 Super Bowl? Baseball and hockey they're at the midpoint of their season, which is great, but they can't look back in the similar way that baseball can. So kind of appreciative of that, of how we're going to do this here in a little bit, but how we get to look forward now, literally, now that the calendar is flipped.
Very philosophical, Sam. Very philosophical.
Yes, this is what I think about in my quiet
this
time.
This week's episode of the Show Before the Show. So thanks for joining us wherever you found us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, elsewhere. You can give us a rating and a review and a subscription. You can get in touch with the show, podcast at MILB.com. For those of you who work in minor league front offices, especially in the promo department, stay tuned for our segment with Ben, because you may well want to get in touch with podcast at MILB.com. Just saying. With that, we'll get started. Every week on this show, we do a segment called Three Strikes, in which we dive into three pressing issues across minor league baseball. And strike one this week, we're going to kick off the new year with some New Year-themed discussion. And we're going to get some resolutions on the 2019 outlook. First, for American League farm system. Sam, give us what you got.
Yeah, so for this one, this kind of comes from news that actually broke this week, actually yesterday. We are doing this a little differently today. If you're hearing us on Friday, we're coming out a day late just because of the way the holidays worked and all that kind of stuff. So this news broke on Wednesday. We're recording on Thursday. But the Orioles have hired somebody to run their international scouting department, and that's Kobe Perez. He comes from, he's got a background with the Phillies. He's got a background with the Indians. He's, helped lead international scouting for those clubs before. He worked in amateur scouting with Cleveland, then moved on to Latin American scouting. So this is somebody who has a deep background here, good candidate to kind of take over for the Orioles. But what makes this interesting to me in terms of resolution is, for years we've been talking about how the Orioles need to get involved in the international market. They, under Dan Duquette, it's something they basically refused to do. They weren't spending big money on international prospects. Instead, they would look to trade for them, something like that. Yusniel Diaz, for instance, now their top prospect, was signed initially internationally by the Dodgers, acquired by the Orioles in the Manny Machado deal. So that's basically how they got international players in, which, it's a philosophy. Orioles weren't very good last year. Can we make connections? Maybe loose ones at best, but still, if it's an opportunity to add talent to your system, you need to take advantage of those opportunities. And part of the reason why I think the Orioles didn't do well last year is because their system wasn't that strong. They didn't have the reinforcements when times went bad, to replace some of these guys with major league ready or top prospects. Turning this around, Mike Elias kind of made this announcement. It seems like the Orioles are really going to go for it. And let me just read real quick what they wrote about the hiring of Perez. Here was the team's official statement. In Kobe Perez, we have found the right person to spearhead the Orioles' new international presence. Emphasis new, my own. His experience, connections, and reputation built across a fast-rising career in multiple successful organizations will immediately elevate our capabilities in this critical market. Hiring Kobe is a major first step in improving our footing in Latin America. We will continue to augment our operation until the Baltimore Orioles are leaders in recruiting and developing international players. So what stood out to that about me is them saying the Baltimore Orioles are leaders. They really expect to pour more resources into this and become a club that is going to build on building blocks of international prospects, which is huge. I hope they continue that. I hope they make big July 2nd sign. Obviously, the Orioles have the first overall pick in the draft this year. That's going to be a big help. But if they invest more money and invest in the right players, that's how you do a rebuild. Elias saw that with the Houston Astros. So in terms of a resolution, I think that's the biggest thing I'm going to be looking at in the AL come 2019. Or come 2019, we're already here. What are you looking at, Tyler?
Yeah, can you believe that? We're already here. Get ready for a whole swath of podcasts of me saying, can't believe it's already February. That's what I do every single time we have an episode. My resolution is for the Minnesota Twins organization. The Twins have gotten a couple of top prospects nearing the major leagues, some that have graduated in recent years. Nick Gordon, we know, is getting close. Steven Gonzalez has made his way there. But they got a couple of guys making the climb right now who are as exciting, I think, as a 1-2 punch in minor league baseball, and Royce Lewis and Alex Kirilloff. They were both in Fort Myers for last season. Royce Lewis, of course, started out in Cedar Rapids with a good stretch there. Alex Kirilloff did the same. Those two, as those guys climb together, that division, I feel like, is primed for, at some point, a return to the power dynamic of the Twins and the Tigers, and maybe, as we'll hear from a prospect in this system coming up here in just a little bit, the Kansas City Royals. Brady Singer will join us here in a little while. Last year, that division was so weird and was so off. We've been waiting for the White Sox to take that big step forward. Maybe 2019 is the year for that. Cleveland has been the team to beat in that division for a little while. What does the future look like there for that organization? But I like where the Twins are headed. I think the Twins have quietly put together a pretty good core, and I'm really interested to see where Royce Lewis and Alex Kirilloff take themselves this year, because I think if they have a good stretch of time in Chattanooga, and they're both still pretty young. I mean, Royce Lewis is going to enter this season at 19 years old, and Alex Kirilloff will be just 21. He just turned 21 back in November. But I still think that there's the possibility that, maybe you see one of those guys push the envelope and knock on the door of the major leagues this year. I don't think we'll see a debut this year, but can those guys put themselves in position to make an impact following this 2019 season? Can they continue the success they had in 2018, put themselves on the map as surefire major league contributors for 2020 on the strength of a good year this year? That's a system that I feel like we don't talk about a ton, but I think quietly has put itself in the mix of one of the maybe second-tier systems, third-tier systems in minor league baseball with some of the top-level talent that they've got. Nick Gordon, what does Nick Gordon's future look like? Last year was so good at Chattanooga, went up to Rochester, played 99 games there, really, really scuffled at Rochester, only OPS 544 after OPSing 906 in 42 games at Chattanooga, but he's only 23. So does Nick Gordon finally finish things off? It just seems like, that organization turning the page with the retirement of Joe Mauer, everybody else in that division not really being world beaters as of yet, but other systems building themselves and coming on. The Detroit Tigers have, it seems like, every pitching prospect in the American League almost is in that system. The White Sox have been collecting talent for so long and amassing a prospect group that's as good as maybe any in baseball, at least in terms of the last 5 years in total. What do the Twins do? That's my resolution. It's kind of a random one, but for some reason that stuck with me coming into this year. I really like those two, Royce Lewis and Alex Kirilloff.
Right, and you mentioned 2020 is a chance where they could really take off. They just signed Nelson Cruz,
right?
Who is huge. Like, if Nelson Cruz is somebody who should be signing, if he's signing a 1-year deal with an option for 2020, he should be signing with a contender. I think he can bring a good power bat to almost any team in the American League looking for that DH spot. And the fact that he signed with the Twins means he probably sees a little bit of that. Eddie Rosario on that team, Max Kepler, Byron Buxton, if he ever turns it around, could be an absolute superstar. Miguel Sano, there's still some potential there. You add in somebody like Lewis, you add in somebody like Kirilloff potentially at the end of 2019, early 2020, and that could very well be a very loaded team, with kind of homegrown stars built around a middle of the order bat like Nelson Cruz. So, they're starting to make the little things that, like you said, that division is wide open, and they get somebody like Lewis and Kirilloff to anchor that lineup 2020 and beyond. That's going to be huge. So maybe we'll be talking about the Twins like we did I don't know, the Brett Radke days, the Torrey Hunter days. That would be kind of cool.
Brett Radke, I always remember from this commercial for World Series Baseball for the Sega Genesis, in which he kept giving up home run after home run after home run in Cleveland, and they started doing a conga line around the bases. And I was like, why would anybody choose to star in this commercial? Where you're
It was actually him?
getting rocked. Yeah, it was actually him.
Okay, it wasn't strange. Like the virtual version of him that he...
No, I'm going to have to try to find that again. No, it was like actually him, like throwing like real life pitches, and then they would like, cut in gameplay action. This is back in the day before gameplay looked anywhere remotely close enough to just make the entire commercial out of gameplay for a video game. So it was like actually Brad Radke just getting lit up in Cleveland. It was very strange. I don't know why he chose to. I'm sure the money was why he chose to do it. Strike two this week. We're just going to flip this on its opposite, on its polar, and go to the National League. National League resolutions for 2019, Sam.
Yeah, so I brought up the Orioles in terms of international spending for my AL resolutions. For my NL resolution, it's actually a farm system that did pretty well in international spending in 2018, but they need a lot more to keep coming in 2019, and that's the Miami Marlins. As things stand right now, the Marlins do not have a top 100 prospect. They have a couple guys kind of on that cusp, Victor Mesa, who they signed out of Cuba this year. Yet to play a minor league game, but he's kind of right there maybe. Monte Harrison was a former top 100 prospect, had some real contact issues last year at AA Jacksonville, but when everything is working for him, he has the chance to be a real five-tool monster. Isan Diaz is right there as well. Sandy Alcantara, still a prospect. Nick Neidert. But this is kind of like the Orioles. The Orioles are very much in a rebuild right now. The Marlins are entering year 2 of a rebuild. If they trade JT Realmuto, yes, that's probably going to bring back somebody who can really be the diamond of a farm system. Kyle Tucker was mentioned back in the time when Houston Astros were mentioned in a deal. The Braves have been mentioned in the past as well. Tampa Bay Rays, all of those have kind of like a headline of a farm system type prospects to trade. But the Marlins need to build internally. They've said they're going to do that. They obviously made that known last offseason when they traded Giancarlo Stanton and Christian Yelich, now the last two MVPs of the National League, as well as Marcell Ozuna. Realmuto is the only one left, and I hope they trade him before opening day, just to bring some resolution to that, but also just buoy this farm system that there may not be a top 100 prospect. It's still a solid system. There's still some pieces to like here. But it's nowhere near one that you can point to and say, see, this is how we're going to turn things around. It's these guys here. You need more depth here. You need more top-level talent. It's just not quite there. So, again, they'll have the chance to kind of build through the draft this year as well, get another chance to do that. Gary Denbo has had player development success with the Yankees in the past. This is year 2 for him, so maybe he'll get a chance to take some of the things he did last year and really solidify it with some of these players, and we can see some of them take jumps. But we're just going to need to have, it's going to be the guys in the system right now are going to need to vastly improve, and they're going to need to vastly improve through external sources, whether it be trades, the drafts, the international market, all of that. Because if the Marlins really want to, stick to their schedule and be competitive within the next 3 years, it's going to take a lot more work than the trades they've already made. There's only one major league asset really left for them to trade and get a big piece back. So they need to pull the trigger on that, and then, just have more player development and successes. So we'll be following that pretty closely this year. Hopefully by the middle of the season, we can talk about a lot more top 100 prospects in Miami, because boy, will they sure need them.
Mine for the National League is for the San Diego Padres, and it is a simple resolution: don't screw this up.
I like that a lot, actually.
The Padres have a full 10th of the top 100 prospects in baseball now, capping off at number 10 with Ryan Weathers, left-handed pitcher they took in the draft last year. Luis Patino, a right-hander, is their number 9. Logan Allen, lefty, is number 8. Michel Baez, a right-hander, is number 7. Adrian Morejon, a left-hander, is number 6. Chris Paddock, a right-hander, is number 5. Then it's middle infielder Luis Arias at number 4. Catcher/outfielder Francisco Mejia at number 3. Left-hander Mackenzie Gore at number 2. And Fernando Tatis Jr., my personal prospect crush, at number 1. Somebody in the National League West needs to bring an end to the Los Angeles Dodgers' reign of dominance in the division. And the team that I think is best positioned to do that is the San Diego Padres. And it's in large part due to the fact that a lot of these guys are very, very close. Fernando Tatis Jr. we should see in the major leagues at some point this year. Francisco Mejia we already have. Luis Arias we already have. Logan Allen is somebody who can make an impact this year if Logan Allen continues to have the success that he had last year, 25 combined games between AA and AAA and an ERA of 2.54. They are just so loaded. And you look at some of the guys that have sort of slipped out of the conversation a little bit. Cal Quantrill, who was a first-round pick back in 2016. Cal Quantrill had a good stay at AAA El Paso last year to end his season. Maybe he's somebody who can make an impact. Anderson Espinoza missed the whole year last year with injury, with Tommy John surgery. He probably won't be back this year until late in the season, if at all, but still somebody with a tremendously high ceiling, and he's still only 20 years old. Buddy Reed, friend of the podcast. Buddy Reed, a fantastic year last year, especially with Class A advanced like Elsinore. Jacob Nix, who we saw last season make just 10 appearances, but a guy who has a ceiling as high as maybe not anybody in that system, but still a pretty high ceiling. Third-round pick back in 2015. I mean, there are names at the back end of this system that would be top 10 prospects anywhere else. And for the Padres, it's just... recent history for the Padres, I think, has been rough, to say the least. When the Padres went all in, tried to purchase everybody that they could, went out and acquired, the Matt Kemp year and everybody else they brought in, the Uptons and that whole fiasco in which they just tried to piece together a high-priced Hollywood contending team outside of Hollywood. That didn't work, and then A.J. Preller decided to go back to the drawing board and do all the things that he did very well in Texas, the things that got him his job, and go on the amateur side and go on the international side. They have built a formidable system, and at this stage, it seems like all you got to do is let these guys go out and play and make the right decisions for where they go and win, and that's all going to take care of itself with that collection of talent. But just don't screw it up. That's where I am with the San Diego Padres. It's all there for you. Just do everything to the best of your abilities right now, because nobody has a collection of talent like this.
Yeah, no, and I think they know that. Having been to the winter meetings and sitting around Andy Green's kind of media availability, and a good 40% of the questions were about Fernando Tatis Jr. and Luis Arias, and how that's going to kind of play out, and also about the catching situation with Austin Hedges and Francisco Mejia. I think these are good questions to ask in turn, like to be at. If you were the organization, you want to be asked these questions, like how are you going to find playing time for all these young players? That's a good sign. Just make sure that they do actually get the chance to grow, and don't get frustrated. And don't, we talked about the Twins earlier. A couple of years ago, we might have been saying this about them as well. They had Byron Buxton and Miguel Sano, who we thought would be the two biggest pieces of their lineup 5 years down the line, and here we are now. Buxton, has had several issues at the plate and injury issues as well, and Miguel Sano has his own bucket of problems. So, the Padres have it all laid out in front of them. They just have to actually go and do it and trust these players and allow them to hit their ceilings. Because if of the 10 we've mentioned, if 4 of them do, that's crazy and that's great. And that's a player development success story. So that'll be really fun to see what they can do this year, and hopefully we get to see a lot of them in the majors, like you said.
Strike three this week, Sam. The trade market has not stopped turning. It hasn't been an insane offseason as of yet, but at least there's been a little bit more action this year compared to last year. And we saw a deal between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Cincinnati Reds, a blockbuster trade that sent big leaguers Yasiel Puig and Matt Kemp, among others, to Cincinnati, and the Reds shipping some prospects to Los Angeles. Josiah Gray, a right-handed pitcher, and Jeter Downs, the 20th-ranked prospect in their organization, or the 7th-ranked prospect, Jeter Downs, 20th-ranked in Josiah Gray. Shortstop Jeter Downs is probably the most notable guy for our purposes in this discussion. There are a lot of player development people, talent evaluators, who are extremely high on Jeter Downs, and the Dodgers able to land him in that package. Give us your, I don't want to say gut reaction because it's about 2 weeks ago this trade went down, but right. Looking at this deal, how do you evaluate that?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see the Dodgers be sellers in that way.
Yeah. Or at least it will be until they sign Bryce Harper, and then it'll all make sense.
Right. Well, that's the thing, is that we said that at the time. It's like, oh, well, this probably portends a big move.
Right. And it's been 2 weeks, happened. And yeah.
Right. I mean, the holidays have come in between. I think that has a lot to do with it. But Yeah, to say like, oh, the Dodgers added Jeter Downs to their system. They desperately needed that. It's like, no, they don't. They don't really like. They need to be adding major league pieces, not necessarily shedding them like Yasiel Puig. If you're a Reds fan, I would be excited by this. I mean, adding Puig to that team, it feels like the Reds are gearing up more to go for it than they have in a long time. And you get rid of Homer Bailey's contract, which must feel like a win for everybody in Cincinnati. But, a lot of these guys are becoming free agents next year. I think Alex Wood will, Puig will, Kemp will. Kyle Farmer's the only one that they got back who's really controllable, but he's not exactly a future piece for Cincinnati. But in terms of prospects, Dodgers get Jeter Downs, as you mentioned. He becomes the 7th ranked prospect in a pretty good Dodger system right now. He was taken in the 2017 draft. He was taken 32nd overall in the collective or the competitive balance A round. He has a chance to be a real above average hitter. He was that last year in the Class A Midwest League with Great Lakes. He showed some good speed. He stole 37 bases. A lot of people don't expect him to be an absolute burner. I think that was a lot of him kind of picking his spots, but he also had 13 homers. He's got a good arm. He can be good with the glove. Played a lot of second base last year, but it also was drafted as a shortstop. For the Dodgers, you expect him, okay, that's the foundation. That's who he could be, a slightly above average hitter with a little bit of pop, more speed than we were expecting, and a decent glove. Okay, how can we build on that? So we'll see. He turned 20 in July, so he'll be going into his age 20 season next year, starting out in the Class A Advanced Rancho Cucamonga League. With Class A Advanced Rancho Cucamonga in the California League, excuse me. If he can really take off there, show even more pop, because he will be playing in the Cal League, which is hitter friendly, that would be a big win. Show himself that he can tap a little bit more into his power. But we'll kind of have to see how that shakes out. And then Josiah Gray, like I mentioned, now the 16th overall prospect in the Dodgers system. He was a 2018 pick. Really stood out this year at rookie level. Greenville, that's Greenville with 3 E's. Actually 4 E's, excuse me. There's the Greeneville.
Oh, yeah.
The Red system before that. He was the 72nd overall pick. He came out of a Division II program, which is really interesting. A lot of people think he's still really raw because he played infield initially in college. They made him into a pitcher, so he's still learning his craft. But even then, he put up a 2.58 ERA, struck out 59 batters, walked only 17 in 52 and a third innings last year in the Appalachian League. So, again, starting on a good foundation, has a good fastball, has an above-average slider. A little bit more moldable, I would say, than Jeter Downs is, which makes him even more exciting to add to this kind of Dodgers mix. But what does this trade do for somebody like Alex Verdugo? I mean, hopefully it clears out an outfield spot. If they go off and sign Bryce Harper, then that blocks Verdugo all over again. This is a free Alex Verdugo podcast each week. I would love to see him get a chance. Maybe it's going to come in another organization, but hey, if they're trading away outfielders, that portends good things for him. And I hope he gets his chances in Los Angeles. So we'll see how this kind of shakes out. This felt at the time, like I said, like the start of something, and those other shoes haven't dropped yet. So kind of watch this space, see what else the Dodgers can kind of do here. Otherwise, it's just them shedding salary. And hopefully they're not just putting it back in the pockets of their owners.
And that is 3 strikes for this week's episode, the first of 2019, the Show Before the Show podcast. We're headed to the Kansas City Royals organization next, and their first-round draft pick from 2018, Brady Singer, who joins the show to look back on a pretty cool Christmas season for himself and his family and preview his first professional season coming up next. Our very first interview of the 2019 calendar year is a guy who's going to be making his professional debut on the field in 2019, and that is a new top prospect in the Kansas City Royals organization, Brady Singer, right-hander out of the University of Florida. Brady, welcome to the show, man. How are the holidays? We'll get to your holidays, obviously, but holidays and the new year started. How's everything been going for you?
Yeah, everything was good. I had a good Christmas. Got to go back home for, probably that a week or so, which, home isn't too far. I'm living in Tampa, so it's about an hour down the road, but got to spend some time at, the house, like I said, and had a great holiday with family.
Well, a lot of people got treated to a glimpse of your holiday. On Christmas Day, you posted a video to social media in which you gave a really special gift to your parents, and I don't want to describe it because I want to hear you describe it. Tell us what you gave your parents this year.
Yeah, so I surprised them, which was I kind of had to go, behind my dad's back and parents' back to get it done. But I decided to pay off, some of their debt, or actually all of their debt, and a loan from the bank that they owed. So, surprising them with, something like that, it's really cool because I kind of got to, write them a letter and talk to them about, all the things that they did over the years for me, and, all the sacrifices they made during the time to, reach, the goal that I had this year, that play professional baseball. So just kind of reminding them everything they did and everything that they helped me with.
The reaction to that, I mean, that thing blew up immediately on social media, and it was so cool to see it on Christmas Day. I think people, are already in that mood where they're feeling warmed by people around them, and then you see something as amazing as that. What was the most meaningful thing to you about the way people reacted to that video?
Yeah, I think it brought a lot of good, back. I feel like, a lot of people are talking about, the bad stuff in the world, and just to, kind of for people to put a smile on their face, and especially like you said on Christmas, just to see the positive reaction that a lot of people had. And I really wanted to show the younger kids, and just always remember the people that got you to where you were. So I got the video out, and like you said, it kind of went nuts, and then I had a lot of positive feedback, so that was really good to see.
Yeah, and you mentioned you had to go behind your parents' back, especially your dad's back. How do you go about doing that? I mean, I can't imagine my parents ever sharing their financial situation with me, and then you go ahead and just like erase it completely from, I'm sure something they were worried about for a long time. How did you go about doing this and keeping it a secret?
Yeah, the secret wasn't easy. I feel like as soon as my dad hears something about it, he'd come and try to kill me. He's a big guy, and it's scary to go behind him. He's not small. So, it was really hard, but I got, I know a lot of their people, so I got to, kind of call them and, talk to them about it. So some people knew early, and, they thought it was a great idea. And, it was really cool to, show them how much my parents mean to me.
Yeah, and you mentioned in the video, and you mentioned it here as well, it's a way to pay your parents back for everything they had done and all the sacrifices they made. I think anybody who's ever gone through youth sports remembers, whether it's the long drives to soccer camp or the, going around to ice rinks or baseball diamonds across the country. What's one specific memory you have where you feel like your parents really, dedicate a lot of their time and obviously effort and money to do something that helped you get where you are today?
Yeah, one thing that kind of stood out to me was, this past year was, we figured that it would be my University of Florida, and they, actually didn't miss an away game or miss a single game, period. If they had to fly somewhere, or even if it was, a long drive. We played at South Carolina and Tennessee and stuff like that this year. And, coming from Florida, it's over, somewhere around 10, 12 hours. So they actually drove all the way there just to watch it. I mean, I could have gone one inning, or the game could have got rained out and I could have pitched, but they still came, and like I said, just sacrificing everything just to do those sort of things. And it wasn't just this year. They did it, my whole baseball, like you said, youth career, and, in travel ball and in college. There just wasn't many games that they weren't at.
Brady, when you look at where you are at this stage on the verge of getting into your professional career, going to the Royals last year in the first round of the Major League Baseball draft, and now, unfortunately, I guess from a certain standpoint, you're a Florida guy. You're going to go to Cactus League spring training. You don't get to just have the commute to Grapefruit League spring training because you get drafted by the Royals, but I'm sure that's a small price to pay. Now that you're getting close to it, you go through the draft process, you go through that first year, not even a full year, but that first stretch of time in a professional organization. Now you got your first spring training. You've got your first opening day assignment coming up. How excited are you, the fact that we've turned that corner? It is the new year, and that's only, really 6 weeks away when you finally get it going in a full-on context with pitchers and catchers reporting.
Yeah, so I was talking to somebody the other day, and they said, once Christmas is here and the New Year's here, it's basically time for spring training. So I've had a, really, really good off season. I feel a lot better, and I'm starting to throw now, and everything's feeling good. So just to get out there and, obviously get on the baseball field and wake up and know that your job is going to a baseball field and, seeing all the guys that I met last year, everybody's awesome teammates, just to hang out with them. And my favorite thing is just to keep learning about the game.
And you mentioned, you're starting to pitch now. Where are you right now in your kind of build up to the season? What are you doing now to kind of prepare even for spring training?
Yeah, I'm just, continuing to train every day. I moved down to Tampa this past off season, so training down here, and there's a lot of good resources, and I'm starting to stretch throwing out. I'm working out into, starting to be some long toss. So everything's feeling good and feeling strong, and I really am ready to go.
And take us through 2018 from a minor league standpoint, because you didn't get to appear in any official games after your time at Florida. You had a pretty much full workload there in your junior year with the Gators, throwing 113 innings officially. But what were those discussions like with the Royals in terms of maybe getting you to an affiliate, but at the end of the day deciding not to throw you into the fire quite yet?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it. I threw a lot of innings at Florida, and over the spring, I've thrown quite a bit, but looking at into the fall ball and stuff like that, throwing innings in the fall too, that I thought it was time to just take a break and kind of relax, but continue to train and all that. And I actually went up to over to Lexington, where our low A is, and got to meet some of the guys, some of our prospects, and watch some of those games for probably about 7 days or 10 days, and then went out to Idaho to meet our one of our pitching coaches out there, Jeff Supon, which was a huge help this summer. I met him and learned so much from him, which was really great. And then just out in Arizona and training, and just kind of leaving my arm alone, giving it a rest.
That's pretty cool. So you weren't in game action, but you got a chance to kind of experience the minor league atmosphere going to Lexington and Idaho Falls. That's got to be a pretty good, at least somewhat of a foot in the door with what you can expect going into actual game mode one day, having been around it, even though you weren't necessarily on the mound.
Yeah, absolutely. That was really cool. Like I said, just going out there and, just getting in the atmosphere, like you said, and meeting some of the guys that, hopefully we, play a lot of years together.
And you mentioned throwing a lot of innings last year, at Florida. Obviously, it ended well with you going in the first round. You had been through the draft before. You were taken in the second round back in 2015, coming out of high school by the Blue Jays, end up not signing. What was the difference in draft day experience for you this time versus the last time?
Yeah, this year I was a little bit more sure of kind of where I was going. Out of high school, we had in that 2015 draft, we had so many prep righties coming out of high school that, anybody could have gone anywhere. But, this year I had a general idea where I was going, so it was a little bit less stress. And, we were obviously playing a game during the draft, so I didn't have much time to think about the draft. I was cheering on, us to win.
Brady, how stressful is that? You look at basically any other professional sport, and guys don't deal with that. When you're a college player and you're trying to get your team to the College World Series, you're playing right through draft day, and you're focused on all these other things, your future, your potential first round pick. That means there's a sizable bonus coming with it. Are you going to negotiate? Are you going to sign? Are you going to go back to school? All those things. And oh, by the way, you're also trying to get your team to the College World Series. What's that experience like? Being somebody who's a frontline guy at a major program, fighting to get to Omaha, while also dealing with all that stuff in the back of your mind. If you're an NFL guy, season's been over for 5 months. You go to the combine, you get into the draft. It's just part of the process. But in baseball, you're drinking out of a fire hose at that stage into June. What was that like?
Yeah, the focus on that is huge. I always thought that the draft was going to take care of itself no matter what. You could impact it during the year. Just my main goal was to just go out there and win, every Friday night, no matter how I had to do it, was just to win games. And, for the younger guys out there, just, relax, and the draft will take care of itself, and it's going to do what it's going to do, and you will have a shot at the ultimate goal is making the big league, so everybody will have a shot at making it. If you're one of those frontline guys, or even anybody, realistically, everybody's usually has a shot, and like I said, just relax, and it will do what it does.
And what's a way you feel like you developed as a pitcher, that junior year? You guys were coming off, one of the best years in program history, obviously in 2017. You win the College World Series as a sophomore. You're pitcher of the year as a junior. So what did you do in the SEC, that is? So what did you do differently, or how did you feel like you developed, at the right time of your career, basically going into the draft?
Yeah, I think I studied a lot more. I studied hitters, and I kind of studied the game more of what to do in certain situations. My sophomore year, you get into some situations, or just watching hitters during the at bat. I knew a lot more of what to do my junior year instead of my sophomore year. And I developed a changeup a little bit more this past, in 2018, and just did some different variations with the fastball, throwing it up in the zone and stuff like that. So just adding some different pitches, but also knowing the hitters that I'm facing.
And do you think that led to some really impressive control numbers for you this year? I think you averaged under 2 walks per 9 innings. 1.75. That's really stellar at any level, but especially pitching in a big conference for a big program like that. That was really good. How were you able to control the ball as well as you did last spring?
Well, I know that walking guys is just a free 90 feet, and that's like I said in the studying part. I like to study kind of the guys that have had success with commanding the ball, and every big leaguer commands the ball, but guys like Maddox, just watching them manipulate the ball and control it and throw it exactly where they want to, and obviously watching some guys prior, the guys that were before me in college, like Shore and Sean Anderson and Dunning and all those guys. I learned a lot by commanding the ball, and also Sully, didn't stop talking about it. So I learned a lot from that, and I just kind of really thought about it this past year, and I knew it would help me.
Brady, we've had a handful of your former college teammates and guys that have been your predecessors of Florida on the show, and obviously guys we've talked to a ton on the for stories on the site. And to be part of that program, whenever we get guys out of big-time college programs, we always ask them about what it is about the culture at a given program that makes it so successful. You name all those guys who've gone before you, who have made it into top prospect status in the minors, from Logan Shore and Dane Dunning and all these other guys who are right there on the verge now of cracking their way into a major league career, and you're kind of the next one in that line. What is that like, being part of the pedigree of Florida talent that's been churned out over the last several years, and what is it about that program in Gainesville that turns out so much top level talent?
Yeah, absolutely. That 2016 pitching staff was kind of unbelievable, and looking back at some of those names, they were all good pitchers, but they were also really good teachers as well. There was in 2016 and 2017 as well, and 2018, all those times that we always bounced ideas off each other. And I don't think there was a better class that I could have learned from, except that 2016 team. I learned from every single one of those guys. They were all juniors, and they were all in the SEC for so long. So every year there's one or two guys, or if you're fortunate enough, with more than that, there's always guys that you can learn from. Like last year, just learning from Jackson, and Dyson's there, and you always just sit around and talk. Pitchers have some downtime, so you sit around and talk, and you bounce ideas, and you learn new pitches, and you think about setting up hitters and games and stuff like that. And Sully does a great job controlling the pitchers as well. And there's so many things there at Florida that that you can learn from with video and stuff like that. So, but like I said, the main thing was we always, kind of taught each other different things.
Yeah, and along those long lines, do you guys have like a group chat going right now from that 2016 team, or like from any of those Gator teams you played on? Because like you mentioned, I just looked up the roster of that. That was Logan Shore, Alex Fado, AJ Puck, Jackson Quar was now with you in Kansas City, Dane Dunning, yourself, Sean Anderson. I mean, that's just a killer staff. Yeah, and if you guys
got Moss too with the Reds.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And if you're all leaning on each other, then how much are you still leaning on each other, even though, you guys have gone all over the baseball map since?
Yeah, I mean, most of us all still talk. I mean, AJ lives here in Tampa. I talk to Shore, quite a bit. Fido's in Tampa, and we all still talk. We all still see each other. A lot of us live here in Tampa, so we get to see each other quite a bit.
There you go. All right. So looking forward to 2019, you, like you said, you've been to Idaho Falls, you've been with Lexington, you've gotten a taste of that, but you're going to step on a professional baseball mound for the first time. What do you think that experience is going to be like? And when you even envision it now, just, gearing up for long toss and all that, what are your expectations, and what are you going to be working on, do you think, come April?
I'm just looking forward to just having a good, healthy 2019. And obviously it's going to be a little bit different starting on 5 days rest, but I'm looking forward to it. And like you said, every time I go on and throw, it's another day closer to spring training and another day to getting on the mound. So just really looking forward to getting on the mound. And, somebody said by working on something, the changeup is going to be huge this year, and, changing, probably into the four-seam fastball as well. So I have two different variations of that, plus a changeup, and, work on the change or the command as well. Always have that, and just get out there and have a great year.
Brady, a couple more before we get you out of here. Say you head to Lexington or Wilmington or wherever, based on who else is in that league and what level you end up at. There are a lot of those guys that you saw in college in the same dugout or throwing aside you, getting ready for games or in the clubhouse, whatever it is. Who are you most excited to come across, either in the batter's box or on the mound opposite you, a former teammate that you most want to face in pro ball?
Ooh. I'm trying to think who I would play against. I always loved facing India. I don't know full cross pass. I don't know where their high A is or low A or any of that is. Anybody from Florida. We were all something cool about the team is we were all good friends. I mean, everybody liked each other, so it was always fun in scrimmages. We'd always compete like crazy against each other. So anybody from that team or anybody from the SEC, I feel like we all know each other.
All right, man. Last thing for you. One of the final lines in your MLB Pipeline bio is your competitiveness is off the charts. So I have to ask you, when you go home over the offseason, how do you feed that? What's the thing you get most competitive about over the offseason? Are you go to the bowling alley? Or are you somebody who just tries to crush your family members at cards? What do you do over the offseason?
No, I play golf quite a bit.
Okay.
And I swing as hard as I can, and when it doesn't go straight, it's the worst thing in the world. But we go out there as a group of guys and compete against each other, put some bets on it and stuff like that. So it's always good fun when we go out there.
Otherwise,
what's your handicap?
100% of every swing I've ever taken in golf, swing hard and it doesn't go straight.
Yeah, right. What's your handicap rating?
It's like a 12 or something. Not great.
I ask as if I know exactly what that usually translates. I feel like the smaller the number, the better, but I honestly couldn't tell you one way or another. So it sounds like it would be better than Tyler and my handicap combined, I would say that.
Brady Singer is the top prospect in the Kansas City Royals organization, last year's 18th overall selection in the first round of the Major League Baseball first-year player draft, and he is on Twitter at BSinger51. You can catch him this year in the Royal system, wherever you find him in low A or high A or elsewhere. Brady, congrats on all the success already in your pro career and getting out on the mound there in next month. Enjoy every minute, man. We'll be following you as the season goes along. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, thanks guys for having me on.
It has been quite some time since we've been graced with the presence of Benjamin Hill, and no longer do we have to wait as Ben joins us for the first episode of 2019. Welcome, man. Happy New Year.
Hey, Happy New Year, Tyler, and Happy New Year, Sam Dykstra, sitting to my right.
Happy New Year, Ben.
Yeah, it has been a while.
Tell us about all the places you've been. You've been all over.
Yeah, I mean, in my life. I mean, I was born in Cleveland, Ohio.
Cut forward to
Were you really?
2018.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, he's interested.
No, we're not going to learn
He's
little
interested,
things
yeah.
about
I was
who
born-
your first grade teacher was. I just need
Mrs. Galloway.
Okay, great.
I was born in Cleveland, Ohio, but my parents lived in Ravenna, which is a town about an hour away from Cleveland.
Give us in relation to Midwest League geography. How close is that to like Lake County?
That would be it's a little closer to Akron, and the closest team Ravenna is the Mahoning Valley Scrappers.
Oh, okay.
So if I had actually grown up there, I would have gone as a lad to Mahoning Valley Scrappers games. But anyway, I know Sam's already annoyed with this. We have to keep it moving. And so where I've been, we last spoke at the winter meetings in Las Vegas. And from there, I visited friends in San Francisco. And then I went to Mexico and spent 4 days on a beach at Bahia de la Luna Resort, which I'd recommend.
Which is on the Pacific side or the Gulf side?
Pacific side.
Okay.
I flew into Huatulco Airport. In the state of Oaxaca, which I still can't pronounce correctly, but I had a good time there. Then came back for the holidays and did a lot of holiday running around, as we all probably did, and moved to a new apartment before all those travels, 1 floor below, but I have a 1-bedroom now instead of a studio, so I'm moving on up in the world.
And non-New York folk, that's a huge deal.
It really is a huge deal. I'm in apartment 3E now, so if anyone update your
one fewer stair you got.
Yeah, update your address books. So I've been around, but I was gonna say I did miss work, and I missed you guys. So here we are.
Well, here we are, and we got a bunch to cover. There are a few new ballparks opening in 29. Was it this year that we didn't have any new ballparks open? Correct. So we're coming off of a year where we had nothing.
This year we did. We had one.
Was that last year?
In 2018, we had 1 ballpark.
Everything's already running together. 5 seasons in with this job, I'm already losing perspective on time. Wasn't there a season? Was it 2017 in which we had no new ballparks open?
2017 would have been the first season.
Oh, right, but we had a delayed opening.
But we had Hartford, which was slated for 2016. Got pushed to 2017, so kept the streak going. That inspired an article of mine about a year or two ago of when was the last season that a minor league ballpark didn't open? And it went deep into the 80s, and then it just got ridiculously hard to keep track of because then we were dealing with ballparks for teams that are since totally defunct.
Right.
And people would be like, wait, the Maine Guide Stadium opened in 1983. So,
yeah, Josh Jackson.
Yeah. I know.
People.
Yeah.
People in scare quotes.
Or whatever the case was. So it is a remarkable streak going back 30 plus, close to 40 years of at least one ballpark opening in the minor leagues per season. That almost ended in 2017, but because Hartford got delayed, there was Hartford last year and just Augusta last year. Or Hartford in 2017, just Augusta last year. But we're on the uptick now. 2019, we have 3 new ballparks coming, as we've talked about all those teams and their recent name unveilings and whatnot. We have new ballparks in Fayetteville, Las Vegas, and Amarillo in 2019. And then 2020, if all goes according to plan, knock knock, we'll have 4 new ballparks, and I have a new batting around column, which is a regular off-season column I do, which I didn't do yet this off-season because I was more immersed in the retrospective stuff after having been to every minor league ballpark. But for the new year, thought it'd be a good time to write a batting around and to to look forward to what's coming. That's what we do in New Year. So of course we have these 3 new ballparks in 2019, but we have 4 in 2020. Which, as we've learned with minor league baseball stadiums, Hartford, Biloxi, El Paso, sometimes things don't go as planned. But right now we have 4 on the docket to open for 2020 and one at every level of play. I mean, not short seasons, but we have a Class A Advanced, a AA, and a AAA. And I think
that's pretty good.
Yeah, and I think most fans, I didn't really realize it until I was writing it. I was like, wait, we have that many? And wow, it's spread out like that. So it's interesting. AAA. I don't think we've really covered this much. I feel it's a little under the radar that Wichita, Kansas is this far advanced in having a new hosting a Pacific Coast League team in 2020. And that team would be the relocating New Orleans Baby Cakes, moving from New Orleans to Wichita, Kansas in a new ballpark. So that process is underway, and construction should start soon. They're going to be on a tight timeline for sure to open for 2020. Tyler, you'll be interested in this. There's going to be a Name the Team contest coming up for Wichita, and once the name is picked, Todd Radom.
I saw that. Friend of the podcast,
Yeah.
Todd Radom.
Yeah.
On the show before.
He's been on the show. I did an article about him after meeting him at the winter meetings a few years ago. He's kind of a legend in the industry. Doesn't do too much minor league work, so I thought that was pretty cool. They already have him tapped to do that for a new Wichita team in 2020. Of course, Wichita had minor league baseball as recently as 2007, I want to say. the Wichita Wranglers in the Texas League, who became the Northwest Arkansas Naturals. And Wichita Wranglers played at Lawrence Dumont Stadium, which was 80-some years old. It just got demolished, and the new ballpark is going to be in that same location that Lawrence Dumont was. So there's going to be a history of minor league baseball on that site, even if it's a new facility. And then looking forward through going further with this story, there is nothing set in stone. But, I've been reading local media reports, and it looks like with the New Orleans AAA Baby Cakes moving to Wichita, that baseball could stay in the New Orleans market in the form of a AA Southern League team. So stay tuned for that. Yeah.
So there would be more movement around the Southern League, because one of the other teams you have here that's getting a new stadium next year is obviously North Madison, Alabama, with Mobile Bay Bears moving. Right.
So another new ballpark in 2020, and we've certainly covered the Rocket City Trash Pandas, who've already they're way ahead of the rebranding or the name the team game. They've already announced. I was
going to ask you that. Can you think of another time in which a team? I mean, they were almost 2 calendar years away from opening day when they announced that identity. Can you think of another time when that's happened?
I can't. And I think what happened is the team, the ownership, thought they might be able to be on a more accelerated timeline when they first started the process to open in 2019. So I think they went down the road with creating an identity. And then once they went so far down the road, even though the construction wouldn't be ready for 2019 and the new stadium process, they just went ahead and announced it. But it is strange to have simultaneously the Mobile Bay Bears playing in a lame duck season in 2019, and the team that will replace them already being an entity selling merchandise, the Rocket City Trash Pandas. But they will play in a new ballpark in North Madison, Alabama, opening in 2020, which is in the greater Huntsville region. And, of course, Huntsville had a team as recently as 2015 in the form of the Huntsville Stars, but that was Joe Davis Stadium, a facility that could no longer really cut the mustard in terms of meeting the standards of minor league baseball. So it's kind of funny how that works. Huntsville Stars go to Biloxi, and then a few years later, the Huntsville market gets a team, in the neighboring North Madison in a new ballpark. And I think we see that a lot with ballparks. In a lot of the cases, is not the market, it's the ballpark. Sometimes it's the market, but
you just said that with Wichita, essentially.
Right, same thing with Wichita. The Wranglers were in an 80-year-old facility. It was no longer really working there for affiliated. They left, and now going back to that market at a level up in a new ballpark. So, and there you go with that. I think when we're going down to a new Class A advanced stadium in 2020, I think this is the one that is. Construction hasn't started, so let's knock on wood and hope this works out. The Potomac Nationals have been trying to get out of the Fitzner Stadium for.
I feel like as long as I've been here,
right,
since 2020.
Basically as long as I've
the
had
construction of Fitzner Stadium, I think.
Yeah. Art Silber, the longtime owner of that team, has just tried so many different strategies. And, of course, operating in the Metro D.C. area, I think, has been tough with land and, getting the land and the funding and everything. So they have an agreement, the Potomac Nationals, with Fredericksburg, Virginia, which you may remember almost landed the Hagerstown Suns 4 or 5 years ago. That fell through. But Fredericksburg, which is about 30 miles south of where the Potomac Nationals currently play in Woodbridge, Virginia, are set to have a stadium in 2020 for the Potomac Nationals. That's an interesting one in that the team or the ownership will pay for the stadium, and then the city will be an anchor tenant. That's kind of reverse of what we usually see in the funding arrangements, where it's usually the city or a county paying for a ballpark and then the team paying rent and being an anchor tenant. This would be the other way around. Construction is not started yet, so they're really going to have to get moving to make 2019 truly the last year at the Fitz.
And, I mean, this might be getting even more ahead of ourselves here, but with these other ones, like you said, Rocket City, we already know the team name. Wichita, we know that they're going to have a name and team contest. Is Potomac going to change to celebrate the move, or because it's Potomac, it's not specific to a place, it's a region?
Yeah, I don't know what their plan is, whether to go with Fredericksburg in the name, or they can just keep Potomac, if they're going to keep just the parent club name of Nationals, or totally different branding. I think that's down the line. So we'll see how that one goes. I think that is the one that needs the most to happen in order to happen in 2020. But there's a Fredericksburg baseball Twitter page, and they're signing up season ticket holders for 2020. They're going full speed ahead as much as they can, but obviously they need to get going on this now that we're in 2019 to have a new ballpark for opening day 2020.
Right.
One thing that is a little confusing about that franchise is the fact that there is a Potomac, Maryland, and the Potomac Nationals are not located there. They are in Woodbridge, Virginia, which is 30 miles away. So that's always been a little perplexing if you're not somebody who's familiar with that area. But we'll see what the future holds in store for the Frederick/Potomac/whatever's. The Pawtucket Red Sox, Ben, that's been a saga as far as ballpark questions have gone for a long time as well. They were going to build a waterfront ballpark, and then they were going to build a ballpark that was very Fenway-inspired, and they were going to do this, and they were going to do that. The latest thing is a relocation plan to Worcester, Massachusetts, which would be theoretically set to open in 2021. It looks like that is probably on track right now. What's the latest with Worcester and Pawtucket?
Yeah, Worcester is looking very solid to be ready for 2021. That's the only one I'm aware of when we're looking beyond 2020 to 2021. They've approved financing through city council. And, when they first announced the move back in August, clearly everyone, all the key players were on board. And then once it was announced, they're just moving straight ahead. They have the architect, they have the project manager, they have all the funding in place. They should be starting construction, this spring or summer, and it looks like they're 100% ready to go. Well, you don't want to say 100%, but they're on track at this current moment for 2021. So it looks like Pawtucket will have 2 years remaining at McCoy Stadium, which are going to be bittersweet.
I was going to say sad. I'll just say sad.
Yeah.
It's not. I get it. It's exciting to have a new ballpark and all that kind of stuff. But somebody who had literal birthday parties at McCoy Stadium growing up, it's going to be a sad moment to see that place.
Yeah. And Sam, you know better than us, just what an emotional and nostalgic hold that ballpark has for so many in that region. It's Rhode Island's only affiliated team. That ballpark itself is 70-something years old. Cited the longest game in professional baseball history back in 1981. Right. Home of the Boston's AAA team since 1973. And people in that region love it and are very sad to see it go. And bittersweet, with an emphasis for some people, certainly on bitter. I think a lot of people are upset with that in the region. But I don't know. This is what's happening.
Right. I mean, they have struggled in terms of attendance for years now. It's not like, it's nostalgic, which can poison our minds at times. I get that. But yeah, this is how I've always framed all these other stories we have about, even the team moving, from the Fitz to Fredericksburg to some of you at home. That might not mean much, but there are going to be people around Woodbridge, Virginia, to whom that means a lot. Even if it's going 30 miles away, people can drive from Pawtucket to Worcester fairly easily. I used to have to drive through Worcester to get to Pawtucket. It's certainly doable, but it's so much different when it was literally in your backyard. It's a place you grew up. It's a place you watched your kids grow up. McCoy, it's famous for letting down the buckets to get guys to sign balls at the field level, stuff like that. All that's going to be going away for a flashy new thing. So we'll see what the flashy new thing is going to eventually look like, and once that's all settled. But yeah, it's exciting on one hand to see Worcester become more into focus and them get all they get all of their ducks in a row. But yeah, when the last day at McCoy comes, that'll certainly be a sad day, and hopefully it's one I can be at for sure.
Yeah, and then McCoy still might have a future after the Paul Sox leave. What that future may be, we don't know. There's been talking of affiliated team coming in, but obviously when you look at what leagues fall in the geographic footprint, as well as the other teams needing to waive territorial rights.
Right. It would need to be the Eastern League or the New York Penn League.
Yeah, so there would be issues with getting affiliated in there. New York Penn League would make sense, but New York Penn League already has Boston. The Boston affiliate in that league is Lowell, which is in Massachusetts.
Not going to want them to give that up.
So it's hard to see Lowell losing their Red Sox affiliation. We'll see how this develops. But for right now, we mentioned 3 new ballparks in 2019, 4 in 2020. One that we didn't mention in 2020 yet, and it's the only non-relocating team of the quartet in 2020, Kannapolis, new ballpark in downtown. Right now, they have a ballpark that's not downtown, but that region, in a way, is just, as Charlotte just grows and grows, and now Kannapolis is growing and growing. It's a really fast-growing area. They're really trying to develop Kannapolis downtown proper. So, the Kannapolis Intimidators will be an anchor tenant as part of this massive downtown development. in Kannapolis, and they are very much on track for a new ballpark in 2020.
You might not have an answer to this. It literally just hit me, though, since you brought up Charlotte. The White Sox have affiliates in Kannapolis, Winston-Salem, and Charlotte.
Yeah, they're
that team in Chicago is so thoroughly based in North Carolina.
Yeah, I don't know why that is, but it's been the case for quite some time.
Yeah, there's something to be said for Charlotte has great facilities. Kannapolis is getting a new ballpark. Winston-Salem has pretty good facilities.
Yeah, one of the best in the Carolina League.
Yeah, so I'm sure it's just limited movement and all that, but I don't know. That's just interesting. That's something we should look into at some point.
Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe if you can't get proximity to where you operate as a parent club, at least get proximity to your minor league teams to one another. It's the next best thing.
I've often wondered what the worst travel system is. I know Josh Jackson and I had a conversation about this in spring training last year. We were talking about teams that have affiliates all over the place. I know the San Francisco Giants kind of jumped out as one of those ones that's really rough because they had Augusta for low A, high A in San Jose, double A in Richmond, and triple A in Sacramento. So you're going coast to coast for every trip at those levels. But it'd be interesting to see what in their Class A short season affiliates in Salem, Kaiser, and Oregon. So that's like 5 straight levels of coast to coast trips. It'd be interesting to see what the actual worst is. We're just game planning future stories for MILB.com.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's right. And it would be on the West Coast almost certainly because there's just not enough minor leagues to have a minor league system in close proximity. So portions of the Midwest and certainly the Northeast are spoiled with such a cluster of different minor leagues all in close proximity to where the parent club is, and you just don't have that on the West Coast. You have the California League. Well, we'll save it. But
total travel distances for prospects. I'm going to put that on the to-do list for story ideas. Benjamin Hill on the site right now is batting around. Ben, we did resolutions for systems in 3 strikes this week. Give us some of your resolutions for minor league baseball clubs in 2019. There's a lot of cool stuff coming up. It's going to be an over doubling of the Copa de la Diversión program this year, which is one of the most innovative promotional initiatives that minor league baseball has done in recent years, like you talked about with the opening of new ballparks. That's some pretty cool stuff. What are some of the resolutions that you've got for minor league clubs this year?
I'd say for clubs, this is general, a little vague, but But you kind of have to be general and vague when you're talking about something that can apply to 160 different entities. But what I would say is that I think every single team, teams are putting their promo schedules together right now. Some of them already have them finalized. But I think every team should have the resolution to do one promotion that has truly never been done before. Take a risk and just do something, whether it's absurd, whether it's based on a passion of someone in the front office or a group of people in the front office. Take a risk, because especially now with the internet, you can really build some traction. And even if it doesn't translate to a huge night at the gate, you can get a lot of attention for your team by just doing something that no one has seen before. And if you really do blow it out, you can really establish a reputation as someone who takes risks and does things that other teams don't do. I mean, we've talked about Fresno a lot because they're always creative with promos. But, like last year, they were the only team that said, you know what, we want to do something with Coming to America. And they had a huge hit with celebrating Coming to America. So I think, don't just look at the most obvious things, the pop culture anniversaries and whatnot. Think to yourself, what do we like as a staff, or what is something we can do because it's, regional or specific to us, or whatever the case. But I feel like every team, if we're talking about minor league baseball and how minor league baseball represents America through each team being a unique reflection of where they operate, I think the promo schedule needs to reflect that. And I know budgets are different and strategies are different, and a lot of teams like to be conservative, some don't. But I think that would be my resolution for every team is one thing. You've got, if you're a full season club, you got 70 dates on the calendar. Do something that you can definitively say no other team has done this.
All I'm saying is nobody has done the show before the show night or even an MILB.com night. So those are free ideas out there for you jerks.
160 of you.
Yeah.
Any one of you could take.
We will accept plane tickets to your locale.
I was just thinking.
Sam and Ben and I will sign autographs. We'll bring Kelsey and Josh along.
Yeah, I was just thinking it's too bad Hawaii doesn't have a PCL team anymore.
Yeah, I know.
That would have been perfect. But
yeah,
we'll accept anywhere. We're up for exploring.
We'll go anywhere that preferably has like a beachfront hotel resort. I guess really is what we would we would need. Sam only takes a certain color M&M. There's a whole laundry list. We're like a touring rock band in the 1970s.
Yes.
But other
Yeah,
than that,
get in touch. We'll send you our riders.
Yeah, we have more riders than the rodeo.
Podcast at milb.com. Feel free to reach out. Ben, what else is coming up to the site or to the blog or elsewhere?
Well, you know what? Being gone out of the office for so long, it was a mighty struggle just to write this batting around column yesterday on the first day in the office. As I'm getting caught up with lots of odds and ends, but there is a lot more to come, and I think in a day or two I will have a lot better idea of what's coming up in the future. I'm definitely going to update a blog post I did last year of all the defunct ballparks I visited. Heading into last season, there were 13 defunct minor league ballparks I visited. And guess what? Now I can add 3 to that list because Las Vegas, Cashman Field, Bowie's Creek is now defunct.
Campbell University, we hardly knew you.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's the other one? Where did
Las Vegas.
Yeah. No, I said that one. Las Vegas.
Did you?
Yeah, Bowie's Creek.
Fayetteville.
And,
Fayetteville. Amarillo, but that
was San Antonio. Man.
So it's just 2.
No, there's 3. I'm going to look into it.
Oh, no, Helena.
Yes, you got it. That was all part of that domino series of maneuvers. That's why I was like, update that blog post with the 3 new defunct stadiums, Helena, Las Vegas, Cashman Field, and Bowie's Creek. We hardly knew you. 2 years in Bowie's Creek. And, and a resolution for me, I hope an attainable one is to, now that I finally hit the milestone last year of having been to every ballpark, to keep that up, because with the calendar page turning, I now have not been to every minor league ballpark, and got to make it to Amarillo, got to make it to Fayetteville, and got to make it back to Las Vegas for that.
I was going to say, from now on, are you just going to add the new ballparks every year, or are those going to be incorporated in your trips?
I would expect so, because for as long as I do this, I want to, at the end of every year, say I've been everywhere. So that is one of my personal work goals. And another one, personal and professional, is to get in better shape. I think I've let myself slip a little bit, and but teams still ask me to do between inning contests and race, and I have been just so exhausted after certain between inning contests and wondering how long I can do it. And, I'm not that old, so I need to get in shape for the season and not completely embarrass myself, and still look like a young man out there when I'm racing a T-Rex on a ribbon board or something like that.
He's Benjamin Hill. You can find him on Twitter at Ben's Biz. Batting Around is up on the site right now. And Ben, we'll talk to you next week, man. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back. Good to talk to you guys. And we're going to all have a banner 2019.
And that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast. Big thanks to Brady Singer, who, again, you can find on Twitter at bsinger51. And you can go back and watch that video of him giving the gift to his parents if you didn't get a chance to see that around Christmas time. It is very, very cool. And to all of you, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever you celebrate. Hope it was a good one. Hope the start to your 2019 was fantastic. What'd you do for the holidays?
I went all over the place. I drove down to Richmond, Virginia. Drove past the Bowie Bay Sox Stadium, waved. I don't know if anybody saw me, but I did wave.
Prince George's?
Yeah. Drove past the Aberdeen Ironbird Stadium as well. Got a small tour, I guess, of the Baltimore Orioles system, which, circling back to what we were saying about like the longest distance traveled for prospects, that's got to be the shortest.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's a good I think system. I really am going to do that story, by the way.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
That before the season starts. Yeah, they've got to be, because they've got within those 4 levels, they've got Delmarva Class A short season, or Aberdeen Class A short season, Delmarva, which is pretty close by. Delmarva, I did not know this until recently, but is isn't that a portmanteau? It's not an acronym. Isn't that a portmanteau? Delmarva, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia.
Yes.
Is that what portmanteau? I can't remember. And then
is that? Yeah, I'm not sure.
Frederick at Class A Advanced, Frederick, Maryland, Bowie at Double A, Norfolk, Virginia at AAA. That's got to be the longest trip. There is like 4 hours.
Yeah, no, that's very close.
That up. It might not be 4 hours, but they're all very close. That's the point.
Yep. So drove past a lot of the O system. Was in Richmond for 2 days, seeing my dad's side of the family. Immediately turned it around the Sunday before Christmas. drove back up, got dropped off in Brooklyn, got my car, drove up to Massachusetts to be with my family and my sister, who is a nurse and does very important work. And unfortunately, she had to work Christmas Day, so she didn't get to come with us to Virginia. But we spent Christmas morning at her house with my brother-in-law and my nephew, which was a lot of fun. His second birthday, so that's exciting. Or second Christmas, excuse me. And yeah, so that was pretty much it. Came back to New York for New Year's Eve. Had a little shindig at my place, which was filled with about 8 people because I do live by myself. So not a lot of space. With 8 people filled it. And yeah, it was fun. You were actually in New York. We just missed each other.
We did. Yeah, I was there. I was on the road for like 2 straight weeks. Had a basketball road trip to Washington State. Flew back to Denver that day, but just hung around at the airport, went straight out to New York. I was in New York for like 5 days, then flew to Omaha, Nebraska, then went to Western Illinois for a basketball game, then took a bus from Western Illinois to St. Louis, flew home on New Year's Eve. So I was gone for like 11 days, and thankfully my dog recognized me when I got home. But now we're home for like 10 days, which is unheard of for this season of ours. But yeah, I was in New York for Christmas and was back here for New Year's and didn't really do much. Thankfully, went over to my best friend's mom's house and hung out with all their family, which was cool. That was about it. I'm 33. I wasn't even cool when I was 23. Like, I didn't even want to go out and do wild things at 23. I was like, why don't we stay in and we can watch movies? I've never been cool. So I didn't have a rockin' New Year's Eve because I never had them.
Yeah, I mean, as I've gotten older, the amount of things I'm willing to do on New Year's Eve has gone down.
Yeah,
almost exponentially.
It's definitely the holiday that I feel like recedes fastest from like, let's go out and get crazy. Like, I feel like people still go out and get crazy for St. Patrick's Day into like their mid to late 30s if they want to. But for whatever reason, I feel like New Year's Eve is the first one that people are like, yeah, I don't have to deal with that. Maybe behind Halloween.
Yeah, Halloween is probably because that starts around like 17.
Yeah.
Where you don't get dressed up. Well, even then, probably around 14, where you don't go trick-or-treating anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason why I hosted this year. Wasn't because, like, I'm the one you're going to have the crazy house party at. It's like I kind of want to just stay here.
If you're hosting.
Right. And everybody feels that night with way too much pressure and all that kind of stuff. Let me be the place you come to where it's all hanging out. I made mulled cider. And we'll count down together, and then everybody can leave by 12:30. Yeah, so
you, I like it. Nice work, Sam.
Sam Dykstra's no pressure Eve. It's like, Dick Clark can have the rockin' New Year's Eve. It's Sam Dykstra's no pressure Eve.
No pressure Eve. I really wish that joke would stick in my head for next December 31st. I really wish I could bring that out as a callback. Sam Dykstra's no pressure Eve. Well, wherever you are, we hope you had a terrific holiday season and a fantastic start to 2019. You can get in touch with us, podcast at milb.com. We will be evaluating all of the pitches that we get from front offices across the country as to who wants to bring us in to honor us for the very first The Show Before the Show night at an MILB game this year. I'm sure, I haven't checked the email, I'm sure they're rolling in. Even though we haven't released this podcast yet, I'm sure they're just rolling in as of right now. People just caught the spirit of us talking about it, and they were like, yeah, we should have those guys out. Yeah. Why don't we do that? Why have we not done that yet? Why don't we do it every year? So I'm betting those are probably rolling in as we speak. And that'll be great. So maybe we'll catch you at a minor league ballpark near you at some point this season. Or maybe not. For Sam Dykstra, my name is Tyler Ma. We'll be back with you next week on the Show Before the Show podcast from MILB.com. Talk to you then.